the that was me. That was probably my fault. It's when I switch over. Yeah, no, that was me. I did that. I made it go boo boo. Okay, so gaming collection. Here we go. This is what you're looking at here is actually the earliest picture that I have of my gaming collection, which is actually already fairly large in size, I think, compared to what it originally was. Basically, what you're looking at is my original games from when I was a kid, and then quite a few extra games that I got from, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago or something like that. And it was just this guy that was selling, I just wanted to, he had Contra, and I hadn't played Contra since I was a kid. And then he was like, hey, if you just want to buy all my games for $75, you can have them, which was an insane deal at the time, and now even more so because there was a lot of games in there, like a lot. So my original collection started off with pretty much these Super Nintendo games. I had a few NES games as well, but those were unfortunately stolen. But these Super Nintendo games here, these are pretty much my originals, and then all these boxes, most of them are my originals too. And then a little later on when I grew up and whatnot, I bought these Japanese Super Nintendo games here. That is a Japanese version of Symphony of the Night for the Sega Saturn. I got that way later on too. That is my original copy of Final Fantasy VII. A fantastic game if you've never played it. Not custom shelf, this is just my own shelf. It just happened to be that all the games down here fit really nicely. So all of these games down here, all of these games here, $75. The guy was just like, here, just $75, take it. And I was like, okay, sure. It was a ton. It was just a ton. So this is pretty much the earliest picture I have. Oh, that's over here. That's a Zerg. That's a StarCraft Zerg that I got when I worked at a game store. That was pretty cool. And that's my toothbrush, because you gotta keep your teeth good and clean if you're gonna play video games. I don't know if you guys know. I didn't have another place to put it. I was just like, where do I get my brush? So I used to set it there next to my attorney, this lovely gentleman right here. So anyway, that is, like I said, that's the earliest picture I have of my collection. Then when I got into making the guild, things started to grow significantly. So this was all motivated by making the guild. For those of you that don't know, the guild is a place that I made where people could come and hang out, play video games, board games, etc. It unfortunately didn't work out, but I hope to one day try to get it up and going again. So I needed games, though. I was like, I need a lot more games, new, old, everything. And so I just started collecting even more, and so all the Super Nintendo games, that started going up. These are actually my original Nintendo 64 games. You couldn't see those before, but those are pretty much all my originals there. Definitely a lot more NES games. Definitely got a few extra boxed games, including RoboCop vs. Terminator, which I think has like one of the coolest boxes ever. And then on the top of my shelf here, you'll notice BMO and LSP, Mr. Monkey, all just sitting there. I loved having them there because they were just, it's like they were keeping an eye on the collection and hanging out and stuff, and they got to play games too. And then up here is PlayStation 2 games. Most of those are originals as well, most of them. And then some Sega games there, which I've never owned a Sega when I was a kid at all, so those I did get later for the guild. And then I just kept working on it. So then as things, a little bit of lag, yeah, there was a pinch. It's been just mild bit laggy tonight, unfortunately. Here, this is actually in the guild. This is just some other stuff from the guild left over that I thought, well, it'd be cool to show off. I got the Super Scope 6, not purposely for the guild, but it just happened to be in one of my transactions that I got it. So I was just like, oh, cool. So that's where I kept it. Now, this Virtual Boy, I did not get this Virtual Boy for the guild. I definitely did not get this for the guild. In fact, I got this for me for, I believe it was a birthday present when I was a kid. That is my original Virtual Boy right there, and I still have the box and the manuals and everything in it. Hey, Dragon Shy, welcome back. Oh, we got a couple people. Rakto and Laxi, welcome back as well. And Rico, hello, welcome to the stream. So, Yeah, that Virtual Boy though, I've had that since I was a kid, and it's actually in amazing shape. Reason why is because I never used it. Like I used it a few times, and then if you heard stories about it making you have headaches and whatnot, it's totally true. It is totally true. Do you have the Super Scope game? Yeah, right there. Right there. That's it. And then there's actually with the mechs. I think it's called like Battle something or another. I'm pretty sure I do actually. I'm pretty sure. Down here, this is a Super Famicom. This is the Japanese version of a Super Nintendo. This I got maybe about 10 or so years ago. It was being sold as brand new, and it was really cheap, and I looked into it, and it's legitimate. It's completely legit. It's not a fake or anything. It just apparently was a warehouse that they were clearing out full of brand new consoles. And then that's how I also got my Japanese Sega Saturn that's also brand new. It's literally brand new. They accidentally sent it to me, and then it arrived. First this arrived, and I was like, okay, cool. And then like a few days later, the Sega Saturn arrived, and I was like, what is this? And then I was like, I didn't order this. So I contacted the guy. Well, I was going to contact him, but he already contacted me, and he said, hey, I accidentally sent you a system that you didn't order. If you pay for the shipping, you can keep it. Just the shipping. And it was like $60 for a system that on there was selling for like 200 plus. And I was like, sure. Okay, that's a tough choice. So, yeah, that's how I ended up with the Sega Saturn as well. So let's continue on. If I miss any messages, I'm sorry. I want to keep this moving along since this is supposed to be a answer to when people ask me about the gaming collection. So here is when things really were like becoming noticeably like cumbersome in terms of the amount of games that I had in preparation for the guild. You'll notice that basically the Super Nintendo collection has taken over up here. I ran out of room for NES games, so you can't even I couldn't even fit them all here. Like I got I got a lot down there, then I got a whole bunch of games up there, and then I even had to stick some down there. Sorry, by the way, we're dropping just a couple frames here and there, but fortunately it's not too many. This also right here, this is an official Super Nintendo kiosk that they had in stores. That is a real demo unit there. All these Xbox games, PlayStation 2 games, Xbox 360 games, all along here. Those are all for the guild. I never owned those as a kid or anything. I just was like, all right, I need a lot of games. Same thing for up here. All these Nintendo 64 games, those are all, like, well, almost all after I was just building the guild. Same thing with a lot of the NES boxes over here, and then the PlayStation games up there. So the collection just, like I said, I was building the guild, and I had to really get a lot of games. And you may have noticed right here, you might be like, Andy, here and here. You might be like, Andy, are those GameCubes that you're using as spacers for your shelves? And yes, I have so many GameCubes that I didn't have anything else that would act as a nice spacer for approximately the width or height of a NES game. So I was just like, well, what can I put there? And so GameCubes worked really well for shelf spacers for Nintendo games and Nintendo 64 games and PlayStation games as well at one point. So then now I have a custom made shelf where I keep a lot of my games and whatnot. This is pretty much current day what you're looking at mostly. There's a few extra things in there. This is probably about 5 months ago or something like that. But this at least gives you the main idea. It's a little different laid out now. Like I have Super Famicom games, quite a few of them that you can't even see here. A lot of those are now in that shelf too. But basically, what you're looking at down here. This is PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, Sega Genesis, Sega Game Gear. In case anybody wanted to play Game Gear. You got some Dreamcast games over here, but I didn't get too many because I didn't know how much interest there would be, and I'm glad I didn't because nobody wanted to play Dreamcast. Strangely enough, like nobody. Then you got your GameCube games over here. Don't worry, if it's dropping a couple frames here and there, I am aware. I'll probably just re-upload it later. But Then you got Game Boy games right here, classic Game Boy. Then you got Nintendo 64, and they have custom end labels on them, which is really cool, so it makes it easy to identify them. Then you got Super Nintendo up here, Nintendo up here, a few Famicom games in there, which is the Japanese Nintendo versions. And then you got Xbox 360, and then Xbox. And then, let's see. Here is currently, this photograph is actually like maybe 4 or 5 days old. I thought, okay, because some people want to know, do you have instruction manuals? Do you have boxes? And I do have some, as you can see here. So what you're looking at is all along here are the Japanese Super Nintendo games. And then behind that row are the US released Super Nintendo games. And you'll see more of those in a moment. These are all Nintendo game boxes. And then you got Sega over here. And then a couple extra Super Nintendo games that I didn't really know where else to put them, because they're kind of like, they're not duplicates, but they're kind of special. And what I mean by that is, like, the first one there that I see is the Mario Million Seller of Super Mario World. So it's just kind of a unique little variant of Super Mario World. And the same thing goes for the next one in line. That second one there is Super Mario Kart Million Seller. So it's got, you'll notice, maybe you can notice, I'm not sure how well it shows up, but on top of each cartridge, it's usually red. Red is a Nintendo game, and it's a officially Nintendo game. No other Super Nintendo game, as far as I know, will have red if it's not actually by Nintendo. But that gold one there is considered a million seller. So that's kind of cool. It's just red is their original release, gold is their million seller of a release. Here's something that I just wanted to show off. That's kind of unfortunate right there. That's my copy of Battletoads Battle Maniacs. This was not my childhood copy. I never owned this game as a kid. I got this way later, and unfortunately, just the condition that I got it in, it's all torn on the top there. So one day maybe I'll get a new label for it, kind of thing, something like that. But anyway, the reason why I have this picture here is not for any specific game, but to show two things. One, these are US Super Nintendo games, here and here, here and here. And then here, these are actually the Japanese Super Nintendo games, but they don't normally have end labels. And anybody in the European area will also be familiar with these and know, hey, wait, they don't have end labels. That's not normal. What you're looking at is actually custom end labels that I made. And I just thought, hey, that'll probably work pretty good. And it did. I'm really happy with them. They work great. So any of the ones that are Japanese and written in basically English, I write like that. But then this one up here, that one is Rockman and Forte there. That's what that says. Yeah, I just thought I'd show some of the end labels that I made for my games. Recon, hi back at you. Again, if I miss any messages right now, I will catch up on chat. I just want to keep this moving because this is for anybody who asks about the gaming collection. Here is where I believe Technomancer will kind of crap himself a little, because there's some good games in here. There are some good games in here. We got some good stuff, you guys. So if anybody ever comes over to play some games, don't worry. We got some good stuff here. So these are all the boxes for quite a few really, really classic Super Nintendo games. This one right here is one of my favorites. This is RoboCop versus Terminator. If it looks like the box is actually like a hard plastic or something, and the letters are actually protruding out, that's because they are. It is the only Super Nintendo game box at all that is not actually like just a piece of cardboard that looks nice. This is full on like a very hard shell of plastic that encases the box itself. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, come on down, Aces. That goes for the rest of you too. You guys ever want to drop by and play some games, just let me know. Anyway, so I guess I should mention. So in terms of like original games from my childhood and games that I got later, right here, Chrono Trigger. This is my original childhood copy. I got this back in like 1994 or something like that. I remember I got it at Walmart. And funny enough, when I bought my first copy of this, I took it home. Oh, actually, I didn't even get home. We were on the way home. I opened it up in the car because I was so excited, and I got it open. And inside the manual, I was like, okay, there's the manual. Got the game open, and I look, and the game that's sitting inside of the box, it's Super Mario World. somebody bought the game, put Super Mario World in there, and then returned it with Chrono Trigger taken. So we had to turn around and go back and be like, look, we just were here and bought this, this is not the game that we're looking for, And I was like, hey, I've never had that happen before. It was crazy. So, but fortunately, they had one copy left, and it did have Chrono Trigger in it. So I got lucky, super lucky, because I kind of feel like if I didn't buy that game that day, I might not have ever bought it at all, because I didn't even know if it was any good. I never played it before. I only heard about it in Nintendo Power, and I was just like, okay. This is also an original copy of mine. This is Super Mario RPG, a classic game. This game is awesome, by the way. This game is absolutely ridiculously fantastic, beyond anything that I can possibly convey to any of you, of just sheer badass, ludicrously Mondo awesome gaming right here. This game, if you ever play a Super Nintendo game, at least make sure you play this one. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. This game is disgustingly good. Anyway, this game is very good too. This is an original. This is an original, Super Metroid. I love this game. This game is also one of my originals, Secret of Mana. I worked very, very hard for like 3 weeks straight to get this game, because my parents, they were just, a lot of times they wanted me to earn my my games and stuff. But just this one especially was hard to get, because at the time, money was a little shorter and whatnot, and they were just like, you gotta do this, and there was only so many chores around the house to do at a given time, so it was like, all right, just keep saving. This is also an original copy of mine. Another great game. It's very similar. These two are very similar, very hand in hand. And this one here is an original, which also is a pretty great game. Everything else here I got pretty much as an adult rather than a kid. Let's see. This is an original, Mario Kart. That's from when I was a kid. And then this is an original too. This one is. Everything else is as an adult. Yeah, everything else. And some pretty nifty games in here too, actually. We got some good stuff in here. I mean, you can see we got the classic Zelda and whatnot. How many of you played? Quite a few, actually, of these that I'm showing. Again, if I miss messages, I'm sorry. I will catch up on chat. I'm just going to keep this moving. So here are all the Japanese Super Nintendo games. Of course, all of these I got as an adult. None of these I had as a kid, because I didn't even know. I didn't even know how it worked. I didn't know that games were more exclusive to Japan, or that they even came out of. I didn't know. So all of these I got as an adult for sure. And these weren't so much for the guild. These were just for me. So this is Secret of Mana 3 here, or Secret of Mana 2, I guess. Well, Seiken Densetsu 3, but the sequel to Secret of Mana. This is Secret of Mana, Seiken Densetsu 2. This is Castlevania Dracula X. We actually played this not too long ago. And then you got Donkey Kong, which in Japan they call it Super Donkey Kong instead of Donkey Kong Country. You got F-Zero, and of course Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger. This game up here, this is Dragon View, or Super Draken. That's a pretty solid game. It's a very humble kind of game, I always feel like. It's very good. So we got a lot of good games here, though. Oh, and this one here. I'm only pointing out the ones that I think might not be so obvious, I guess. This is Terranigma, or I believe it's Tenchi Sozo, something like that. This is the game that actually inspired me to learn Japanese. And unfortunately, I can't show it off too well. Well, here. There. This is the game, though, that made me want to learn Japanese. I keep it on my desk to keep inspiring me to continue learning and practicing and going with it. Let me go to the next picture. Okay, so here's a whole bunch of NES games. None of these are originals from my childhood, even though I actually did own a couple of these, just a couple. Most of them, unfortunately, were stolen when we moved when I was a kid. So yeah, I got them back as an adult. Like I believe, I owned Mario 1 because it came with the NES system, and I owned Ninja Turtles because it was Ninja Turtles and I loved them. And I owned Double Dragon 3, but that was it. So So I'm really happy to get the rest of these here. Like, there's some great games here. Like, I have the box for friggin' Batman. You know, I'm so happy about that. And we got Contra up here. So I love it. Like, there's so many good games there. All of these are for Sega Genesis. Now, I've never owned a Sega Genesis as a kid, like I mentioned. So everything you're looking at here definitely got when I was older and had extra money. This is mostly for the guild. And there's some really good games in here too, I think. I was really trying to get a lot of classic games here. And then 2 of these are Japanese. You got Shining Force 1 and Shining Force 2. So these are for the Mega Drive, it's called, not the Sega Genesis. So if you're like, what's a Mega Drive? It's basically the European and Japanese equivalent of a Sega Genesis and vice versa. So yeah, got box and manual for all of those. I'm really happy about that because there's some really classic stuff in there. This is just the cabinet that you see behind me, literally right there behind me with the Super Metroid poster on it. If you open that up, this is what you'll see right now. It's mostly, you got 64 games up here, my old 64 game boxes from when I was a kid. So these are from when I was a kid. This I keep in here because just in one of my transactions that I got when buying for the guild, that's actually an unopened copy of Joust. It's brand new. It's for NES. It's literally, this is unopened. And right behind it is another game called Stealth ATF for Nintendo, and it's also unopened. In case anybody came in, welcome back. And again, I will answer questions and all that kind of at the end of this, and then I'll catch up on chat. I'm really sorry. I just keep trying to keep this moving. So these are all PC games in here. So I don't know how well you can see them because this picture is actually fairly dark. I'm sorry. But bunch of PC games here and down here. Just a lot of classics and stuff. This is a picture of my backyard where it's like a really pretty sunset, and I think it's really beautiful, and I just wanted to show you guys. Moving on. So this is also right behind me, because you can't really see all of it, but yeah, so basically if you look behind me, that direction right there, this is what you'll see. So it's not much else to see, but I figured I'd share with you guys. So you can see up here, that is the perler that Grape Juice made for me when I'm wearing my monster hat. I love it. That's a picture of me that Turbo Card drew. So I keep those up there because I think that's a really good spot for them. And then over here, I just got some classic posters. This, I believe, is the arcade version of Salamander or Life Force. Here is F-Zero, and you got Castlevania 2, and then original Metroid. This is a CRT TV here, cathode ray tube. This is an old projection kind of TV thing. I keep that here because it's a great little place for it, and if I want to play any games that require that type of TV, which sometimes happens, I have it so we can actually stream those kinds of games as well. We should be able to anyway. Otherwise, that's just my cabinets where I keep stuff, and most of this stuff you guys see on stream anyway. Okay, now what you're looking at here is actually to my camera right, but my left. So this direction. And what you're seeing here is, this is all Nintendo Power magazines. I actually had a subscription to Nintendo Power ever since I was little. I started off with like issue number 2 or 3. And my grandmother, she was really nice, and she got me a subscription because she knew that I liked video games and thought that I might like Nintendo Power, and she was right. It was awesome. So yeah, I keep all my classic issues of Nintendo Power here, and then I got a couple out because I still read it to this day. I still break it out and read it, and I love it. Whenever I'm just kind of chilling for a bit. Over here is just kind of not even game-related stuff. It's just some math books and stuff that I have. Over here are some players' guides like Super Metroid, Final Fantasy 3, Mario All-Stars, a couple other players' guides, Final Fantasy 7, just some players' guides from when I was growing up. My video camera that I used, that crappy one that we were all like, wow, that's really disappointing. That little hunk of junk sits right there. Oh, it's such a letdown. And then, yeah, here's a picture of Super Double Dragon that I keep on there just because I love Super Double Dragon. This is a boxed... this is a TurboGrafx 16 with the box and the manuals and everything. I am the second owner of this system. The guy that originally owned it, he said he basically played it a few times and then joined the military or something like that, and then put it in his closet and left it there. It's in really pretty good shape. It's got a couple little things going on down below, but otherwise it's in really good shape. This is Rob the Robot. I guess if you guys have any questions, like specifically to something in the scene, use the @Andy, and I will address that. If it's like, Andy, this is a critical question, I'll try to answer it real quick. But like I said, I'm just trying to move this along since this is like kind of a FAQ answer thing. This here is a picture of my grind during World of Warcraft when I was going for Grand Marshal. Now you can't really see it, but this is the stats screen that you could check to see your progression towards whatever rank you're going for, and this was just before I hit rank 14, and I was just like, man, it's so close now. This is a poster of River City Ransom. I love this poster. It's just so intense, and I love it. Behind there is a picture, that's a poster for Earthbound, and then of course BMO, LSP, and Mr. Monkey. They sit up there, and I love it. They just sit up there and they watch me as I play my games and stuff. I feel like they just keep an eye on me. These are books from the game Doom. They released 4 of them. And I feel like the first one is pretty darn decent, but then after that, the others I didn't much care for. They were okay, but that's where I keep them because it's gaming stuff. So next, let's see here. Here's just a closer shot, and then let me go back real quick. So what you're going to see is I'm going to open this cabinet here. In the next photograph, this cabinet is actually going to be opened up, and we're going to see inside of it. So inside of that cabinet, these are Super Nintendo manuals. So I don't know, it looks like maybe there's about, I don't know, like 50 of them there or something. Then you've got Sega, Genesis, and Mega Drive manuals here. Then you've got Super Famicom, so Japanese Super Nintendo manuals here. Then all of these along here are for Nintendo, Classic NES. And then I just have a few games that I have sitting in here because I thought, well, I'll probably play them soon, which that was like 3 months ago or something. I don't know. So yeah, we'll work on that. These are my original copies of Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy, I think Tactics might be in there, Gran Turismo, just some classic games that I didn't want to put out for the guild because I thought if anything happened to them, I'd be really bummed out. Also, these games I never put out for the guild to use because these games are very special to me and I didn't want anything to happen to them either. And in there is my original copy of Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Secret of Evermore, Mario RPG, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger. I don't know if I said Secret of Mana, and I think that's it. So I keep those games right there because that's like those are my originals, you know. Those are like, it's my crew. There's a few other originals around too and whatnot, but I don't know, I keep those there. So anyway, moving on. These are the newer games that we so yeah, we all know what that. That's good times. I need water. So yeah, in case anybody missed it though, these are actually very recent games that we got. So shout outs to everybody that donated so we could get those. And yeah, Darnell, Darnell hype. We got more Darnell hype coming up in there. Yes, I was like, man, we gotta like, just in case, man, we need to make this digitally official. I thought I gotta have, like, in case anything ever happens to it, let's hope not, but just in case, we gotta have, like, you know, some documented history of Darnell in existence in case. So there we go. That is the backside of Darnell. Oh, this is kind of cool. I got this when I was, again, getting stuff for the guild. This is a little cart that would be stored in, like, they would put them in the video game stores, and then they would put, like, a Nintendo up here, and then, like, the games and stuff down here, and they could just move the cart around or whatever you wanted to put on there. But this is, this used to be in stores, so this is an original thing from the stores, but somebody put a sticker of Mario on it, and a Nintendo Power sticker. I didn't do that. But I thought it was kind of cool, so I left them. And also, make sure you take notice, this is so old that Mario's colors are reversed. You'll notice this is the newest Mario that we all know. His shirt is red, his coverall thingies are blue, and you'll notice that the color is reversed. So, just a little old school kind of trivia. Did anything actually happen to any of the games while you're running the guild? Fortunately, no. Not that I know of. Everything came out okay, but that's because all the games, I kept them in a locked cabinet. Like, I had to unlock it myself to get to the games, because I knew I better protect them just in case. So here, this is what I see when I live stream and I play my games. You are looking at where I sit. This is why I'm really glad that I can use my hands, because this is especially where it would be really kind of tricky. So right here, here, it's a little dark on that screen. I think I'm pointing to it now, kind of. That's Terranigma. You can see it behind my microphone there. That's just where I keep it. This monitor is usually on, and this is where I see chat and everything. So I see chat, I see the stream. This is where I see all the stuff when I'm streaming. And then I just got some pretty standard computer speakers on the side. They're actually quite nice. They're Logitech. I like them. But I'd like to get a new pair of speakers at some point, because they are getting outdated now, and they are a little blown sounding. A little bit, but not horrible. The camera that you see me right here through is this right here. So that's the camera. And then just Contra 3 poster, because Contra 3, Contra 3, I love it. That's a Super Metroid poster. My monitor here, this is a 144 Asus monitor. I love it. This is the best monitor I have ever used. Sorry, I know we are dropping frames here and there, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm really sorry about that, everybody. That's my mouse. That's my other mouse that I use for the computer there. You may notice there's only one keyboard, but two computers. And you might be like, well, how do you operate this one over here if you only have one keyboard? That's where this little thing comes in handy. If you look at the tip of my finger, that little button, that goes to what's called a KVM switch. And it actually has it so that this keyboard is hooked into two computers at the same time, in a sense. If I press the switch once, it'll switch to this computer. If I press it again, it'll switch to this computer. And it'll switch this mouse to either one. I just keep this extra mouse in case real quick I need to I need to move something or change something, something like that. I can do that real easily. But otherwise, I'll switch it and I'll use this mouse here. And that way it just keeps less clutter. This right here is the volume control for my speakers. You'll notice right here a bunch of wires. This is whenever you see me starting up the stream and you're like, hey, what are you doing with the sound? That's what I'm messing with the sound. I have 3 different sound cables there. One sound cable is the sound output from my actual gaming PC. One cable is from my retro setup for the retro games. And then the other cable is from the actual monitor itself when I do HDMI into the monitor. I don't use that one too often, but when I do, it comes in handy. How many SNES games out of all of them have you played? I actually don't know, Vellum. I don't know. Dropping by to say hi. Well, thank you, Fox. I appreciate that. Okay, we're almost kind of done, I think. I think we're getting there. This is actually a little bit older screenshot now of my setup. It's a little messy, sorry. But I purposely kept this one in the mix because I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the setup for anybody who is kind of wondering about the technical side. Because I don't just, when I play my retro games, I play them on this monitor here. And some people might be like, well, wait a minute. How the heck do you do that? And the way I do it is with this device right here. This is a line doubler. And it is really, 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 really good. It is specifically designed for video gaming. And it is pretty much probably the best out there you can get. So I'm super happy that I have it. Basically what it does is it takes the output of the video game systems and puts it into a format called RGB. Well, the system is outputting RGB if you know how to access it properly. Sometimes you have to make modifications in the case of this system. This is a Nintendo, by the way. This is a Japanese version 2 Nintendo here. And so that outputs RGB. You get a special cable that runs it out and it connects to this box here. This box then doubles the lines and then outputs them out this cable. And this is a splitter. This is an HDMI splitter that splits the signal twice. One goes to what you guys see on the screen, so my capture card. So this one going out here, that's where that goes. And then this side here, actually, I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's actually the Nintendo Switch because I had it hooked up. This plugs into that, and then it outputs both of them that way. And then the other one goes to my monitor. And then these cables here you see, these are the other connectors for the other systems. So like these two systems here share the same cable, but then the TurboGrafx 16 actually has a cable of its own that rests here, and then up higher you can't see them, but there's other systems that have separate cables too. Vellum, I don't actually know how many I've beaten. I haven't counted that either, honestly. I'm really not sure, but that's what I'm starting to do, for on stream anyway. All right, so here's my really icky looking case that I made. It looks really, I gotta be honest, it looks pretty funky, but it's not like I built it to show it off, really. I built it for myself to protect my systems from dust and the elements. So you should be able to see there is lines, like slight little lines going across the areas. That's because I used saran wrap to cover, a very thin layer of saran wrap to cover, and then I just taped around it to close these in. And then down here, when I want to open it, there's a couple rubber bands, and I just take it and I fold it up, and then it opens it up so I can get access to the inside. And same thing with this here. Right down here, I just lift this up, and it folds up over top, and then I can get access to these systems, which you'll see in a moment. But so you've got Super Nintendo, Nintendo Disk System. This came out only in Japan. That's a really cool little thing. I just got this recently. I mean, like, very recently. We actually have a Sega CD now, so we're going to play some games on that at some point soon. The Nintendo Switch sits over here. Just, I mean, it's such a small system. It's tucked in, and there's a fan assembly that I have to keep it cool. You got your PlayStation 2 up here, TurboGrafx 16, and then that's the Japanese Sega Saturn. Let's see here. So now this is with the bottom open, and this is with the newer setup. You can just kind of see a little better. When I'm done, I rest the controllers next to the systems. It works out pretty good. And then here's another picture, just a little more illuminated, so you can see it a little easier. I should point out, that thing right there resting on top of the Nintendo, that's a converter. That just allows me to play US games on the Japanese system. It just, it's like a little fitting that allows it to fit on there. Tatanka and Jabberwocky, hello and welcome to you. Feel free to chat or lurk. Okay, this is just another shot of the systems up top. This, some of you might recognize, this is the Super PlayStation controller, whatever you want to call it, that I made. Basically, I just took apart a Super Nintendo controller and a PlayStation controller. I took the insides of a PlayStation controller, modified the Super Nintendo controller, and then took some of the original Super Nintendo parts as well, and merged basically a PlayStation and Super Nintendo controller together, because I really like the comfortability of a Super Nintendo controller, and I just thought, well, I think I can do that. I think it'll work. And, well, it did. It looks a little crappy right here, because I had to kind of cut around a little bit for the buttons to properly fit in that front part, but everything else actually fit pretty darn well. So that's a PlayStation controller in a Super Nintendo shell. I really like it. Here's just another picture, different angle, so you can see a little easier. You might notice too, it says priority mail here and here. Like I said, this is very rudimentary. I didn't make it for showing it off in any way. I just wanted to protect my game consoles, because I really try to take good care of my stuff. And so I put these packing boxes on the back and on the bottom because they were brand new. And I was just like, oh, I could just do that as like a surface for them to lie on. But if it looks like this whole thing could fall apart really easily, it actually can't. It's actually a very hard piece of cabinet that I built all of this around, so it's very sturdy. It works very well. This is, I just figured I would add this. This is actually the Japanese version of the Nintendo here. This is, in case any of you don't know, this is what they got in Japan. Usually outside of the US or outside of Japan, it's that gray box, but no, not in Japan. They got this. And it's pretty cool looking, I think. I think it has like a really unique look. Unfortunately, it's kind of yellow because the plastic just does that sometimes for some of them. Also, something that is like really not a very like good design choice, but they knew it for outside of Japan anyway, is that the controllers, both of the controllers, sit inside of the console. That's cool. I like that. But if you look back here, you can't really see it, and I don't think I have any other. Let me see here. Yeah, you can't see it too. Well, that's the second player. I'll explain that in a moment. The controllers are actually hardwired into the back of the system, and you can't take them out. If you want to remove them, you can, but you have to cut the wire. You just So that was like, they knew they made a mistake, I think anyway, because obviously on the other Nintendos you can just unplug the controller, and I'm really glad they did. Also, controller wires themselves, for how short how they're hardwired in, they're also very short. I think they're maybe like 3.5 feet long or something. Like, they're super short. Does that Japanese NES transform? I wish it did. That'd be cool. But no, it doesn't. Also, this is a microphone right here. Some games you could actually interact with a microphone. There's no start or select buttons. It's really weird. But it's cool. I think it's like a really neat design. Main 2060, hello, or 260, welcome to the stream. This I just thought I would show you guys because, well, this is kind of unique actually. This is a very limited edition gold controller for the Nintendo 64 that was released by Nintendo Power, and I think only in the United States, I think. So it's a gold controller that you could send off from Nintendo Power. You just mail in a thing, and I think it cost a little money, but yeah, and then it was for their 100th issue of Nintendo Power. So up there it says Nintendo Power 100, and it's pretty nifty. It's cool, and I like how the end piece is even gold as well. So that's kind of cool. This is one of my Super Nintendos, because I do have a few. But the reason why I'm showing this Super Nintendo is because you may notice this has got to be the most pristine, mint condition Super Nintendo that I have ever come across, and I think I ever will. It is, if I had to say, I think it's 99.9% brand new. It is incredible. And I only say 0.9 because I can't imagine that there isn't some spot on it that has something that makes it a little not new. I just can't find it. It is absolutely incredibly like new looking. This thing is just like, it's like it just came out of the box. So I keep it in a bag, very carefully protected. Yeah, see, this one doesn't have any yellowing, nothing. One-Eyed Treason, hello and welcome to you. You'll notice the bottom as well. There is a little bit of dust on both of the things where it's sat there, but all of that can easily be wiped off. I checked it and I was like, okay, I just took my finger kind of and most of it came off, but they're rubber, so it takes a little effort, and I just didn't do it yet. But otherwise, like I said, yeah, this has got to be like, it's beautiful. It is. It's crazy. Like, this thing is ridiculously new. So I always take, I thought I'd show that, and especially usually the sticker right here, this sticker is usually all messed up or missing. So it's really crazy. But it's actually in great shape. I don't think it's yellowed. I'm pretty sure it's not. I think it's just the color on the monitor. I'm pretty sure anyway. I could check it. These are games that we just got actually very recently, like a week ago. I got a really good deal from this guy that was like, hey, I'm selling my collection, and he gave me an incredible deal. These are all Japanese games here anyway, and so these are all for the Mega Drive, and then he also had Metroid 2. I've never owned Metroid 2, nor have I ever played it. Funny enough, as much as I love Metroid and Super Metroid, I've never been able to play Metroid 2. Now we have it, so that's pretty cool. Also, this game here, I really want to play this game very soon. It looks cool. It's like a space shooter kind of thing. And then this one, I don't know about this one. And then actually quite a few of these we already have from the guild. This is for Sega CD. These are also from that same guy. This, I believe you call it, it's Denen Alice or Robo Alice. This is a pretty cool top-down shooter game where you play as, I think, that robot right there, and you just go flying through a bunch of like ancient Japanese-looking areas into like, I guess, like futuristic stuff too. It's a really cool-looking game. I played like the first level, and it was really something. And then Final Fight up here, I can't wait to play that. And this is the Japanese. These are all Japanese, by the way. And so we're going to get the uncensored version with this. Soul Feast, this game is actually pretty sweet. I was playing a little bit of it. Great music. I did not try either of these, so we'll have to try them at some point. I just cleaned them up and got them ready, though. D-Mac, hello, welcome to you, D-Mac. Vanity, welcome back. We're almost done, by the way, guys, almost done. These are also two very new games that we just got recently. So we needed, like, you know, we go through. I had a little extra money, and this game was for sale for really, really a good price. So this is Soul Blazer outside of Japan, but in Japan it's called Soul Blader. Think of this as kind of like a piece of, I believe, Quintet's kind of trio on the Super Nintendo. So you got Terranigma, Illusion of Gaia, and Soul Blazer. So we have this now, so that's cool. Because I've never actually had this game. Like, I have actual Illusion of Gaia, and then of course Terranigma never came out in the US, and now we have this Japanese version. And then we got Star Fox up here, also complete, and they're both really in pretty great shape. I'm really happy with the quality. So before I even put them on my desk, I put down paper so that they're protected. I think that might be it. Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, we're almost done. I know we're getting close. These we also just recently got. This is that crazy game that I was telling you about with the long name. It's like something Macross Scrambled Valkyrie. This game looks so awesome. I played it for about 5 minutes and I was like, holy cow, I cannot wait till we get to this on the challenge. It is cool. This game is going to be interesting. I think a lot of us are going to be like, huh, what is this about? This is Hamlin the Violinist, I believe is you translate it. And it's this guy that plays violin, and he's got a little friend with him that he pushes around and throws and stuff. He's not very nice to her. It looks quite silly, but it's by Enix. Sorry if I shake the camera a little bit sometimes. I don't mean to do that. This is Wanpaku Graffiti. This is Splatterhouse, and it's that crazy Famicom version. I'm really excited. I've been trying to get this for like 3 years, and that guy had it, and he gave it to me for a great deal. Also, these 3 games he had as well. I'm really excited about playing these. This is Parodius Da, which is like a make fun of kind of silly shoot 'em up game. This is actually Castlevania 3 Japanese version, which is really cool because it has these special sound chips that make it different from the US version, and the sound is definitely, in my opinion, better and broader. So I can't wait to show you guys that, and we'll do a little comparison. This one I actually got separate. That it wasn't from that guy. This is the Japanese version of Life Force. It's called Salamander, and I've always wanted to play the Japanese version because it's a little bit different. It looks cool, and the ending is just it's different too. And there's just something. I'll have to tell the story another time, but there is something deeper behind the meaning of the ending. So much so that when you actually see my desktop. This is the ending here. There's 3 different endings. See, in the US version, as far as I know, there's only 1 ending. But on the Famicom version, the Japanese one, there's 3. And this is the best one you can get. And I remember thinking somehow that the pilot was a woman, but I never knew that actually. It just kind of, I don't know, I was like, wouldn't that be interesting if it was like kind of a Metroid kind of thing? Turns out it is. And I was like, holy cow, that's insane. So anyway, this is my desktop, and I always just have that there as just my way of being like, one day I want to play that. And I finally got it. So that's cool. These are Famicom Disk System games. They actually, they're discs. They're floppy disks that you can put into a little disk drive. Now, they're not shaped exactly the same size as normal floppy disks. So, they won't fit in a normal disk drive. They're specially made. So this is Doki Doki Panic. This is the game that we got in the US basically that was modified. Super Mario Brothers 2. This is where Super Mario, our US and I believe European version came from. So we actually have the original game that they based it off of, and this is the real copy of Super Mario Brothers 2 that was in Japan. So we also have that as well. This is Castlevania 1. This is Castlevania 2. This is Metroid. Unfortunately, this does not work. That is such a bummer. I really want this. The whole reason why I wanted to get a Famicom Disk System is because of this game, but got to get one that actually works. But you can at least see what it looks like. It looks really cool. This is Zelda 1. This is Zelda 2. Then we got Mario Golf, Kid Icarus, and Ice Hockey. I think, let's see, I think that really is yeah, we're just closer pictures, and you can see this one's actually you can see through the cartridge on this one. Okay, that's it. Yep, and back to the start. So there you go. That is currently the gaming collection as of today. Well, a lot of it anyway. That's not everything, but that's a very, very large amount of it. I do have a couple other things here and there that I didn't show because I thought, geez, I think this is probably enough to really show off like most of it. I mean, you got to see like pretty much the bulk of everything that we have here and whatnot. And so yeah, that's it. So now let me go ahead and catch up on chat. That'll mark kind of the end of the answer for people that want to see the actual game collection.